100 days ago I made this simple and easy terrarium, but how's it doing today? Let's find out. It has been sitting under an LED light and receives 12 hours of light a day. I haven't done any maintenance on this terrarium so far, but as you can see it's looking super healthy. If you look closer you can actually see the springtails inside. They've been thriving in this setup and have built up a healthy population. And they are certainly one of the reasons why this terrarium is doing so well. I've only opened up this terrarium once or twice since setting it up to check up on its health. But let's open it up now and take a closer look inside. As you can see, the moss has been growing like crazy, which is great, but it's beginning to grow quite leggy. This is a common growth trait for the species of moss I used in this terrarium. And although I quite like the way it looks, the goal for this terrarium was to have all the focus on the feature plant, which is the peperomia. Luckily enough, I can take care of this with a pair of scissors. Before trimming all the moss down, let me show you something interesting about this species of moss. The brown hair-like fluffy section on the bottom of this piece of moss are known as rhizoids. Unlike other plants, moss doesn't have roots, and it relies on these rhizoids to anchor onto the substrate, rock, wood, etc., and even in this case the glass. This is common for most species of moss. With the long scissors, I carefully trim all the moss around the terrarium, paying extra attention and caution not to cut the peperomia. I then pull out the long strands and put them in a cup. I'll show you what to do with these later. As I briefly mentioned earlier, leggy, stretched out growth is common for fern moss, but you can actually train the moss to grow lower and more compact. This is done by regularly trimming the moss. It will stimulate new growth which is denser and more compact. I should also mention that lighting plays a key role in how the moss grows. Low light will encourage more longer, stretched out growth, whereas higher light encourages denser, lower growth. Another great tip is, instead of cutting the moss and pulling it out the terrarium, you can actually push it back down onto the substrate. This will result in a denser carpet of moss. Here's the terrarium after trimming down all the moss. I'm happy with how it's looking. Now let me show you what you can do with all these cuttings of moss. I like to simply store them in a Ziploc bag such as this one. It will keep the moss nice and humid, and it can stay in here for a good few weeks and still be healthy. I give it a very light spray, seal it up, and then place it in indirect sunlight or under some dim LED lights. And then it's ready to use in another terrarium whenever I need it. Before talking about the peperomia, the glass is looking quite dirty, so let's give it a clean. If you're only ever going to do one piece of maintenance, make it this. As I'm sure you're aware, moss and plants need light to grow. And if there's dirt blocking this valuable light, the growth of the plants and the overall health of the terrarium will be affected. And if left for a long period of time, can lead to the death of a terrarium. Now let's talk about the feature of this terrarium, which is this beautiful peperomia. It has doubled in size and has put out multiple new leaves. It's established itself and has grown a healthy root system, which is perfect. I won't be doing any maintenance on it today as it's looking just how I wanted. I haven't watered this terrarium since setting it up, and I won't be watering it today either. When looking at the substrate and moss, they still appear damp, so no additional water is required so far, which is exactly what I expected in a closed terrarium such as this one. Remember, it's very important not to overwater a terrarium. 100 days in and this terrarium is thriving, and I can't wait to see what it looks like in another few months. Check out this video for the build video on this terrarium, and thank you for watching.